You know that year, the one where you gave it everything? You worked the weekends, you stayed late, you poured your actual soul into your job, and you thought, okay, this is it. This is the year they finally get it. They see what I'm worth. And then, crickets. Let's talk about why that feeling is so incredibly common, and here's the thing, why it might not be your fault at all.
Man, this just hits home, doesn't it? You put in all that extra effort, expecting, a real reward, but what you get back feels like a rounding error. That feeling, that punch in the gut when you feel so undervalued after working so hard, that's the heart of the 3% trap. So to really get what's going on, let me tell you a story. It's about we'll call him Weary Raccoon. He's heading into his big annual performance review. And you know what? He's feeling pretty good. He's got his list of accomplishments ready to roll.
And why wouldn't he feel good? I mean, look at his year. He was putting in those brutal 70-hour weeks. He literally saved the company a massive pile of 300,000 leaves. His boss couldn't stop praising him, throwing around words like exceptional and game changer. So what do you think he's walking in there expecting? A huge reward, right?
3%. That's it. After all of that work, all that sacrifice, 3%. You can almost feel the air just suck out of the room. And it's not just disappointing, it's kind of insulting. But here's the kicker. The insult gets way worse when you actually run the numbers. Because, let's be real, that 3% raise, it's not a raise. When the rent on your hollow log goes up 7% and your health insurance skyrockets 12%, that little 3% bump means you're actually getting poorer. You're literally going backwards.
So you start asking questions, right? How is this even possible? Is my boss just a total cheapskate? Is the company secretly going broke? Well, the truth is often much simpler and honestly, a lot more frustrating. The entire game was rigged long before you ever set foot in that review.
Okay, check this out. Way back in January, the executives, the top brass, they decided the entire budget for raises for the whole year. They just said, okay, the total pool for raises is 3%. And that was that. The pot of money was set. So all that heroic work you did in October to save that big project, it meant absolutely nothing to the budget. The decision was already made.
And just when you think it can't get any more ridiculous, it does. See, a lot of companies use this thing called a forced curve. It's basically a policy, a hard rule, that says only a tiny slice of the team, let's say 10%, is even allowed to get the top rating. I'm not kidding. Your whole team could be superstars, crushing every goal. Doesn't matter. The policy comes first.
So let's do the math. Our guy, Weary Raccoon, is on a team with 8 people. The company rule says only 10% can get that top-tier exceeds expectations rating. So how many people on his team are mathematically allowed to be exceptional?
0.8. Yeah, you can't give a top review to 80% of a raccoon. So what does the system do? Simple. No one gets it. Every single person on that team meets expectations and this standard 3% just so the spreadsheet adds up correctly. So this brings up a pretty big question, right? If the number is already decided, what is the actual point of the performance review? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not an evaluation. It's pure theater. It's a scripted play designed to make you feel like the outcome was fair. So just picture it. Weary Raccoon walks in, proud, with his whole presentation of achievements. But his boss isn't really listening to decide on a raise. Nope, he's just listening for little tidbits he can use to justify the number he's already got scribbled on his notepad, 3%.
And this is where that vague, impossible-to-measure corporate feedback comes in. Stuff like, we really need you to increase your visibility, or focus on improving your cross-functional leaf sorting synergies. It sounds so official, doesn't it? But all it really means is, look, kid, my hands are tied, the system won't let me give you what you actually deserve.
So what happens when this plays out year after year? Well, the system creates this massive hidden penalty, a tax on loyalty. To really see what I mean, let's compare our Weary Raccoon with his friend, a more strategic, job-hopping raccoon.
So Weary stays loyal for 6 years, right? He collects his 3% raise every year, and that compounds to about a 19% total increase in pay. Not bad. But the job hopper? He switched companies just twice and got a 25% bump each time. His total raise is 55%. The difference is it's staggering. And in real-world terms, Weary Raccoon's loyalty is costing him 14,000 leaves every single year. And you want to know why? It's because new people get hired at today's market rate. But loyal employees, they're stuck on a pay scale from years ago, just getting these tiny little bumps along the way.
So what happens when you finally get an offer from somewhere else and try to leave? Oh, would you look at that? Suddenly the company finds a giant bag of money. They'll hit you with a counteroffer, a so-called retention bonus. But you have to be so careful. These things almost always come with nasty strings attached. Like you have to pay it all back if you leave within 2 years. It's not a gift, it's a pair of golden handcuffs.
Okay, so we've seen how the budget is predetermined, how the review is just a show, and how loyalty is actually punished financially. What's the big takeaway here? What are you supposed to do with all this information?
Well, the key is to understand where the apples are really going. While the budget for the raccoons on the ground is capped at a hard 3%, the compensation for the executives at the top is jumping by 30%, or even more. The money is there. It's just flowing from a completely different tap.
And this all points to a fundamental and pretty frustrating truth about how things work today. The surest, fastest path to a significant pay increase isn't working harder where you are, it's finding a new job. The system is designed, whether intentionally or not, to reward the people who leave, not the people who stay.
Now look, understanding all this isn't about getting bitter or cynical. It's about being strategic. It's about knowing that your value on the open market might be wildly different from your value inside a company that's trapped in this 3% mindset. So I'll just leave you with this question. What's your real worth in apples?